Hello guys, welcome to my channel once again, where we make videos that cover all you need to know about medical doctors and medical students. And welcome to another episode of how to migrate as a health worker to other countries. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how to migrate and work as a health worker in the United Kingdom in 2020. And this is for doctors, nurses, pharmacists, biomedical scientists, those are the medical lab scientists, dietitians, radiographers, physiotherapists, and others. In this, I included the others. I had already done a video on how to migrate to the United States. If you're yet to watch that, you could just watch it after that. I'll drop the link. If you're new to my channel, please do well by subscribing, and to my returning subscribers, thank you very much. I really appreciate you. So let's dive into today's video. In today's video, we're going to use this outline. I'll do a brief introduction, give you the steps to migrate, and then some advice before I conclude. By way of introduction, the United Kingdom is made up of 4 countries, as England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Please note that Great Britain is made up of the first 3 of the countries, that's England, Scotland, and Wales. Northern Ireland is excluded. That's a fun fact for you. And it provides great opportunities, employment opportunities for foreigners. It has one of the highest level of foreign-born doctors and nurses in the European Union. About 21% of healthcare workers in the UK are not UK nationals. And most Nigerian healthcare workers relocate to the UK compared to other countries. So these are some benefits of relocating and working as a health worker in the UK. First, training. The NHS is one of the best training avenues globally. It just goes beyond working. You're trained to become an authority. It's easier for you once you train with the NHS or train in the UK. You can easily secure jobs outside the UK compared to the country you're coming from, especially if you're coming from developing countries. Then the salary is quite good. An average healthcare worker's salary is about £23,000 per year. After 6 years of residing in the United Kingdom, you also get citizenship, and you get permanent residency if you live for 5 years with a valid visa. And other benefits include paid annual leave, free healthcare, tuition fees for children with a great pension scheme. So it's one of the cheapest countries to work. Beyond this, I have shared a free ebook with everyone. There are 5 ebooks, one for doctors, one for nurses, one for pharmacists, and one for the biomedical lab scientists and others. You would, as we go further the video, you will see whether you need that. So I tagged it HCPC, which will make more sense as we go down the video. So check in the description box below. There's a link there where you can access these books and download them for free. So the steps are: first, you qualify as a healthcare professional, then you apply for the jobs. I'll guide you through how to apply for the jobs, and then you migrate and start working. It's as simple as this. For qualification, you need to have graduated from a recognized medical school or institution. For doctors, ensure that your school is recognized by the World Directory of Medical Schools. I left the link, which is also in the ebook. After that, you have to obtain their practicing license, except you are a citizen or you've graduated from an institution within the UK or the EEA, that's the European Economic Area. You check that out to know which countries are there. There's the EU and some few countries in Europe. If you're not trained within the UK or EEA, then you have to meet their licensing qualification, which most people that are watching this are people that are not trained within the UK or EEA. And another thing to note is that years of experience postgraduate do not really count, except with some few exceptions, which I'll state as we go further down the video. Okay, so for the qualifications, there are bodies that you need to obtain your license from. For doctors, you have to register with the General Medical Council, which is the GMC. For the nurses, you have to register with the Nursing and Midwifery Council, NMC UK. For the pharmacists, you have to register with the General Pharmaceutical Council, which is a GPHC, And for the biomedical scientists and others, you register with the Health and Care Professions Council, as the HCPC. These also include not just the medical lab scientists or technologists that are being referred to as biomedical scientists in the UK. They also include art therapists, the podiatrists, clinical scientists, dietitians, occupational therapists, paramedics, physiotherapists, and others are listed there with radiographers and speech and language therapists. So if you fall within this category, you would register with the Health and Care Profession Council, HCPC. So this is why you are included. In my earlier videos, I didn't include these other healthcare professionals. It's just the doctors, nurses, medical lab scientists, and pharmacists. And subsequently, depending on if I'm able to find things, I might include that. But forgive me if in subsequent videos, you don't find yourself included in this. It's quite hectic, so forgive me for that. So another thing you need to note is that you also have to pass the English proficiency test. For the medical doctors, you must first pass and present a proof of English proficiency before you register and apply for Lab 1 exams or register with the GMC if you're using another pathway or other pathways apart from the PLAB route. You use either the OET or the IELTS as a proof of English proficiency. So you need to have at least a B in all aspects of the OET exams, as reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And for IELTS, you must have an overall score of 7.5 with at least 7.0 in all aspects, reading, writing, listening, and speaking also. So for the nurses, you must write and pass IELTS with a band score of 7.0 with at least 6.5 in writing. It's the only aspect that you have 6.5. Every other aspect you will need to have 7.0 in there. This is also necessary before you register with the NMC of UK. For pharmacists, you will need to pass your English test as the IELTS or OET with an overall score of 7.0 in the IELTS with no less than 7.0 in each of the 4 band score. And then you have to have a B in all the 4 areas for OET. That's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And then you show the proof too before applying. For the biomedical lab scientists and others listed under the HCPC, if you've qualified from a country where English is the official language, you do not need to write any English proficiency exams. That's the IELTS or TOEFL. You just need a proof from your school. That's your school registrar to declare that English had been your official language too. So you have to be careful while filling the HCPC form. It's something that I left the details in the ebook, when they ask you whether English is your official language or you school from where English is your official language. You come from a country where English is the official language, you state yes. Because if you state no, you have to give an evidence. That means you have to write the IELTS and TOEFL as a proof. But then if you come from like Nigeria, that English is the official language, good news for you guys. You don't need to write the exams. However, if English is not your first language, you need to write the English proficiency test. As for those who are going to register with HCPC, you need to have a minimum score of 7 with no elements below 6.5, while you need to have at least 100 over 120 for TOEFL internet-based test. Please also note that they do not accept TOEFL, which is taken within the UK. That means you have to write the TOEFL outside the UK for it to be considered. And then in this slide, I listed the exam centers as I did in the previous video. This I put more perspective on my Nigerian colleagues. So for IELTS, we have it costs about $140 to $310, and you have a center in Abuja, you have another in Cross River, Edo, Enugu, Para, Lagos, Oyo, and Rivers, and I gave the links to which to check for others that are in other parts of the world. The links are in the ebook below. For OET, it costs $587 Australian dollars, and it has only one center, which is in Ikeja, Lagos State. If you're from another country other than Nigeria, there is the link where you check other centers that will be close to you. For TOEFL, it costs $182. It has centers in Abuja, Asaba, Enugu, Ibadan, Lagos, Owerri, Jos, and Port Harcourt too. I left the link for other countries. And for the TOEIC, it costs $140. There's no center in Africa yet, but it's being used extensively in Asia especially Japan and Korea, and it's expanding in other parts of Asia too, and the Americas. I left the link there to get it. So all these are in the ebook, you can check it. So now let's talk about doctors, steps for doctors. For doctors, you need, as I said earlier, you need to register with the GMC, and then the registrations, there are about 3 registrations. The first is the provisional license, which is for newly qualified doctors, and they'll have to take the foundation year 1 post, which lasts for a year, after which you'll be able to apply for the full GMC registration. For IMGs, you should have completed your MBBS and passed both PLAB 1 and 2, but have not had the housemanship training. That means that if you qualify as a medical doctor and you've not done housemanship, you could still use your PLAB to register, but that means that you'll be registered with the provisional license, and then you do your housemanship in one of the hospitals in the UK, after which you get your permanent license. Then there's the full registration, which is for doctors who have qualified and have also finished their housemanship training, and they will have full registration. Once you present whichever certificate you're using, you would have your full registration. Then there's the specialist registration for those who have finished training, their residency training, and now certified specialists or consultants in their respective medical fields, including subspecialties. This is different from the register for other doctors who are either in training or working in non-training institutions too. So you can be registered with, you can have a provisional license registration, full registration, or specialist registration. So please note, for those doctors that are yet to do housemanship and already have their PLAB, know that you would likely find more difficult to pass PLAB without going through at least the clinical aspects of medicine, because we'll talk about that in details. But then after that, you don't need to do your housemanship. You could use the PLAB and do your housemanship in the UK with the provisional license. So for doctors to be registered as specialists, you either use the Certificate of Completion of Training CCT, which is for medical doctors that have done their entire medical training either in the UK or institutions recognized and approved by the GMC. Then there's the Certificate of Equivalent Specialist Registration, which is CSSR. This is for medical specialists or consultants that have done their training outside the UK or the GMC approved institutions, but then their certificate is being recognized by the GMC. And then there's the Certificate of Equivalent Specialist Registration Combined Program. This is for specialists that had done part of their training in the UK or GMC approved institutions and then done the other part outside too. So you combine them to get the license for specialists. This is just for specialists. I also discussed the different routes to get the GMC registration and license. Here I listed 5 routes. The first is the Professional and Linguistic Assessment Board, which is the PLAB examination. The other one is the Royal College Membership Examination. The third is the Medical Training Initiative. The fourth is using the Alternative Examination route. And then the fifth is the Specialist Pathway. I'm discussing briefly about them in more details now. For the PLAB, this is the most popular main pathway to get your GMC registration as an IMG, especially for new doctors. It's made up of 2 parts: the PLAB 1, which is an MCQ exam made of 180 questions to be answered within 3 hours. You need to choose the right answer out of 5 options, and you need to score between 60 to 62 to pass the exams. There are no negative markings in this one. Then the PLAB 2 is an OSCE-based examination with examiners. It has 18 scenarios, each lasting 8 minutes. You'll be given 2 minutes in between each scenario to read the instructions and patient's information for the next scenario. The whole exam takes about 3 hours 20 minutes with a minimum of 2 rest stations allowing the candidates a 10 minutes break each time. So each station, that's for the PLAB 2, each station has 12 marks. 4 marks for data gathering, 4 for interpersonal skills, and 4 for management. And for the PLAB 2, you need to score around 105 to 115 out of 216. So note that for the stations, you need to pass at least 11 of the 18 stations. So far as you've passed, the scores don't matter. Whether you scored high or not, it doesn't really matter. And the exams is held throughout the year. So for the venues of PLAB 1, it costs £239. and you could write it in Enugu, Lagos, or Abuja for those in Nigeria. So left the link for other parts of the world. For PLAB 2, it costs £875, and there are only 2 centers in Manchester, which you write. So that means everybody writing PLAB 2 would have to go to Manchester to write it. And then I left the link to for details on how to register and write PLAB exams. And then PLAB 2, based on the GMC website, has a pass rate of 79, means most people pass the exams, so it's passable. And then I left a link to how to register for PLAB 2. The second pathway is the Royal Pathway. It's a 3-part exams that is taken within 1 to 2 years. Doctors in the UK and doctors outside the UK can sit for these exams. So for the doctors in the UK, you need to have started your core training to write these exams. But then for international medical graduates, there's no need to prove anything. So far, there has not really been any proof, although it's advisable that you should have started residency training, because the pathway enables you to skip the early steps of doctors in the UK and you just go directly into the training. However, this is usually found to be difficult to get into training as a foreign doctor outside the UK compared to those in the UK, because when you apply for medical training outside the UK, those applying from within the UK are considered to be way more familiar with the medical training there and will be considered before you. That's one major setback of it. And then another thing is that it's way more expensive than the PLAB pathway. So I left a link too for that. Then the other pathway is the medical training initiative. It's a sponsorship initiative and a scheme that allows a fixed international medical graduate. So there's a fixed number to work and train within the NHS, after which you go to your country to practice. So these doctors usually return home after their training to continue practice as they enter the UK with a Tier 5 visa, which is a temporary work government authorized exchange visa. So that is different from the Tier 2 visa that other doctors that have gotten their license or had gotten registered with GMC would have. This is yours for those using the MTI. It's a Tier 5 visa, and it means that you are supposed to go after 2 years. So that means if you want to stay, you need to apply and change your visa type. And before you change your visa type, it means you also have to have a job outside the MTI you had been doing before. So that's another pathway you could use. I dropped a link also for that. Then there's the alternative examination pathway. The GMC recently has recognized IMGs that passed either the USMLE as the United States Medical Licensing Exams or the MCCQE exams, the Medical Council of Canada Qualifying Examinations, and then the AMC, the Australian Medical Council exam. So if you've passed this, you can apply for GMC registration. However, there's a catch to it. It means that you should have passed either of these exams on or before the 20th of March 2020. So the specialist pathway, this is the pathway for all specialists and consultants that acquired their fellowship from institutions recognized by the GMC. If you are graduated or if you finish training and become a specialist from an institution not recognized by the GMC, they will not register you under the specialist pathway. So you have to go as a junior doctor before you now train to become a consultant on your own. So as discussed earlier, IMGs will either register through the CSR or CSRCP, and I also give a link to guide you properly. If you are using this pathway too, you could use this link. It will give you more details on how to move around this thing. Then another thing is that your credentials will be verified, and the site is the ECFMG EPIC website, which I dropped the link to. And then after you establish your account, know that the confirmation of identity costs about $130. That's the cost, and then the verification costs $100 per credential. I left a link to give you a breakdown, monetary breakdown of all the process. Now we move to nurses. For nurses, you register under the NMC UK. You have to register with them. First, the process is you register with them, which costs about £140 via the site. I left the link there. And then you verify your documents with your National Nursing Council. For Nigerian nurses, it will cost you about $15,000. Things are changing now, so you might have to verify with the Nursing Council. Then you sit for their computer-based test exams, which is split into two parts. The first covers numeracy. You're going to do some calculations and you would need a calculator. It has 15 questions and lasts for 30 minutes, while the part B covers clinical questions with 100 questions that last for 2 hours 30 minutes. An applicant must have at least 68% overall. That's with the aggregate of both part A and part B. For part A, out of 15 questions, you must answer 14 correctly, and in part B, at least 35 questions must be answered correctly. So 35 out of 100 questions must be answered to pass. The test costs about £83. And if you fail both exams, you could still rewrite them. Unlike other exams that you have to pass them at a sitting, these exams gives room for receipt. So the test costs £83. But then if you fail both papers, you would have to pay £83. But then if you fail only part A and want to receive part A only, it will cost you £50. And receiving part B only will cost you £73. So I left a link again for more details on the exams. Then after you've passed the exams, you will need to submit your result to the NMC with the police reports and your medical results too. So all these are in the link which I shared. And after that, when you're done, you also pay £153 again to conclude everything. For pharmacists, you register with the General Pharmaceutical Council as earlier stated. And then before you even register, your pathway is a bit peculiar. Before registering as a pharmacist via the overseas pathway with the GPHC, you must complete first a compulsory 1-year course called Overseas Pharmacist Assessment Program, called the OSPAP. And the thing is, it's very expensive. It costs about £12,000. Then after you've done your OSPAP, this does not guarantee that you're going to get a job. In fact, we'll talk about it later. You then, when you're successful and you've been considered, you have to do a mandatory 52 weeks foundation training in England, Scotland, or Wales. After you're done, you should be signed off as satisfactory by your tutor. The good thing is that while you're doing this foundation training, you'll get paid, but it's not as high as that of a registered pharmacist. After that, you now do the assessment. It's a test. So you even write the exams after this first, and with a pass result in one sitting. I gave a link for more details about that. And after you've passed the exams, you can now register and apply for the job. And I left 2 sites which you can use to apply for jobs. There are jobs for pharmacists. So it's quite expensive, but it's an investment that subsequently is worth it. Now, another thing to note is that before you even qualify for the OSPAP course, you have to meet some certain requirements before you get the application form and download it. So that means that you would apply for the OSPAP course and you're being screened. This is the site for the screening, and the processing fee is about £687. To process your application, £687 is not refundable. So if after you've been processed and you are not still eligible, that's all for you. But then if you're eligible, you will now have to pay the £12,000 for the OSPAP course. And after that, now you now go for the foundation training again, and then you now apply. So that's how you do that for the pharmacists. Then for the biomedical scientists and others, you register with the HCPC via their website. I dropped the link here, and it also gives details on how to apply. And then you need these documents to apply. You need the HCPC application form, which you're going to download from this website. I dropped a link that you can just download it directly. After that, you fill the form. You can download it and fill it with your handwriting. Please ensure that it's in black too. You must write it with a black pen and write it in capital letter, or type it with a computer, whichever way you're going to do both. Please ensure the details tally with the available documents, because any discrepancy just delays your verification. Then you also have to download the HCPC course information form, which is also in their website. I dropped the link to. and you may send the downloaded form to your school. Your head of department will have to fill this, and for some schools you pay, others you don't pay. It depends. Some you pay way more than others, and that should be signed and stamped by your school. You also have to show proof of identity, which you could use your international passport or your national ID card. And you also have to show an evidence of address, which comes usually in either your utility bill, or sometimes your name might not be there. So use your bank statement. It's not to see the amount of money you have in your bank, just to your address is normally in the bank statement. So that will verify, or that will confirm that you're staying where you claim to have stayed. So while you're filling the application form, make sure that the address tallies with this evidence, all these other documents you're submitting. Then proof of qualification, which is your school certificate and your practicing license, it should be up to date, so you have to be paying your annual fees too. And then letter of recommendation from where you've worked or where you've trained. You also need the official email of your recommender. Please, whoever is going to recommend should have an official email. Then you need a proof of English proficiency. So now note that if you've qualified for a country where English is the official language, you don't need to write any English proficiency exams. You just need a proof from your school. So from your school registrar will write to inform them that English is the official language when you graduated, so you don't need to write the exams. However, if English is not your first language, you need to write an English proficiency test or exams. So for IELTS, you need to have a total band score of 7.0 with no element below 6.5, while you need 100 or 120 for the TOEFL. I dropped a link that gives details on how to apply for it. It's going to be helpful to you. Please also note that all the documents, apart from those downloaded from the HCPC website, that's the application form and the course forms, must be certified to be original by any professional or an individual that is with good standing, and the statement should be written in this form. I certify that this is a true copy of the original document seen by me. The person must sign, write the date that he signs, gives his or her contact detail, and also his or her profession in the document that they're certifying. So after writing those things, the person will have to write these ones too. Then you send the documents by registered post to an address. The address is in the first page of the HCPC application form. So you're going to mail it via hard copy mailing and not online. Please, whatever you're mailing shouldn't be your original document. It should be a photocopy. The person verifying it should verify that you have the original copies, because what you're sending will not be returned to you. The document scrutiny fee is about £540, so you pay £540 for your documents to be scrutinized, and it takes about 3 months. That's about 60 working days, and it may take longer depending on the clashes they have. So if you have your details really matching, it will take about this amount, but it could be longer if there are problems, because they'll be contacting you if they need other things. After the scrutiny is successful, you can now register with £196. It's a 2-year registration, as each year costs £98. So you register after every 2 years. When you've passed this successfully, you can now apply for the job. You can choose to apply yourself, or you can use agencies. In my earlier videos, use credible agencies. Most of these, in fact, these institutions pay agencies to hire people for them, so you wouldn't need to pay them back. The institutions hire them themselves. So you can look for the jobs yourself, or you can use agencies to get the jobs for you. And then you can either work with the NHS or with a private institution. It depends on what you want, because you're going to see the options. I left websites that you could use to apply for these things in the ebooks. And then for your employers can choose to sponsor you. They can stand there as your sponsor. It will be easier for you to get the visa. But if you're sponsoring yourself, you have to meet the criteria for getting a visa to come. So I discussed that in my earlier video about things that prevent you from getting a visa. So and then after that, you can plan appropriately and then move. So now the advice is, please plan early and execute these plans appropriately. For medical students, note this: plan. Many people start planning early. Even the USMLE is something that medical students start writing it while they are in med school. So you can start planning early and then you come quickly. A place like Nigeria, you do a compulsory internship or housemanship depending on your profession. This counts. It makes you eligible. So for those coming from Nigeria and others that follow this kind of structure, your housemanship or 1 year compulsory internship is another advantage for you, so you can also move immediately after that. Another thing is that you have to get the contact of people who have successfully migrated through the pathway. They will guide you, they will save you from a lot of stress too. And then save money. Please save money, because when you're moving, it's beyond moving. You have to take care of yourself. So the first few months can be very difficult. I personally can relate to that too. So please save money so that it will make it quite comfortable for you or less difficult for you, however the case is going to be. Then when you also arrive, try to reach out to people nearby that can help you. So try to get people that you're familiar with that are going to help you. Come visit, it will help you a lot too. On this note, I conclude today's video. What do you think about the video, and what do you agree with? What didn't you agree with? Where do you think I left some info? Let me know in the comment section below. And then if you're yet to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss my new videos. I'm going to talk about a different country again next week Tuesday, and I'll drop another regular video on Saturday. So see you in my next video. Thank you.